Well, welcome to Botanical Medicine with Stephanie Georgieff and our regular feature, Materia Medica Mondays. And at the time of the posting of this podcast, we are now in a new month, July. And July, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, is the first full month of summer. And it's typically a time of summer vacations, etc., etc. So, however you are celebrating this first month of summer, entire month, I hope you're keeping cool and healthy and happy. Now, in traditional Chinese medicine, and I am educated as an acupuncturist, so this theory I find really, really useful and interesting. The summer months are the season of the heart and small intestine network. And this is a little different than what I would consider modern medicine's approach to the heart. They don't tend to connect the small intestine with the heart. But it's really interesting because the small intestine is the part of your digestive system where you're absorbing most of your nutrients. Whatever it is that you're eating goes into the stomach and it gets all broken down, and then it goes into the small intestine, and that's where most of the absorption of all the nutrients and substances, etc., fats, carbohydrates, proteins, anything you can imagine is absorbed through the small intestine. And we also know that nutrition is the number one factor in heart health. So if you have bad nutrition, if you're eating things that are just not the most healthy, this particularly in terms of things like fat and cholesterol. And I would also argue a lot of sugar and acidic things, because sugar turns things in your body to not great. It tends to oxidize things. It tends to make them not so healthy. So nutrition is the number one way to keep your heart healthy, but also the number one way that you can heal from any type of issue with the heart. So that's how you can understand that the small intestine is related to the heart. So I did want to say before we get started that I have put up for the entire month of July a special mini course on everything you need to know about heart health. It's especially emphasizing botanical medicines. So for the month of July, we're not only going to focus on different plants that are very healthy for the heart in the podcast, but we're also going to have this wonderful mini course available. And if you pay attention at all to health news and statistics, at least in North America and primarily the United States of America, the number one killer of people is heart disease, cardiovascular disease. But the good news is it's the easiest to heal. So you really need to take this mini course, and I've priced it very specially for the month of July so that you can be healthy with the seasons. That's one of my favorite books. It's a oldie but goodie. It's called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And this period of summer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a time of fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's warmer, so you can be outside and do all sorts of fun things. But I really highly encourage you to take advantage of this wonderful 5-part mini course. and you will learn everything you can possibly imagine to be as healthy as you possibly can during these summer months. And there's wonderful handouts and downloads that you can keep forever. And you can learn everything about the heart and how to use botanical medicine to make your heart healthy. So for this heart health series, we're going to be looking at several plants that are really useful. And full disclosure, the heart is my weak point in my personal health. So these plants that I will be discussing in the next weeks, all through the month of July, I can tell you from personal use as well as clinical use in my practice, I have found them to be invaluable. So without further ado, for this first plant, we're going to talk about what I consider the king or queen of plants for the heart, and that is hawthorn. And it's all parts of the hawthorn. It's the berry, the leaf, and the flower. And what I can say is that if you purchase any type of supplement, it's the best is to get that combo. You want the heart, flower, you want the fruit, the flower, and that. So hawthorn is a species of flowering plant in the rose family. That's Rosaceae. And it's native to Europe, southwestern Africa, and West Asia. But it's been introduced in many other parts of the world. And the common hawthorn is basically a shrub or a small tree. But this small tree can go up to almost 35 feet tall or 10 meters. Now, they have something called a hermaphrodite flower. It's produced in late spring, which is basically May to early June, in its native area. And it's called a corymbs. And each flower, which corymbs is basically a group of flowers, and each individual flower is very small and has 5 white petals and numerous red stamens in a single style. And this is one of the hallmarks of the rose family. And the hawthorn has been used in traditional medicine to treat things like anxiety, asthma, hypertension, high blood fat, hypotension, angina, arrhythmia, heart failure, all sorts of things. And what's really interesting about hawthorn is that it's a modulator. This is truly a miracle. And I've seen it work in clinical practice. And basically what hawthorn does is that it brings your heart where it needs to be. So if you are having arrhythmias, this helps reset the heart so that it beats regularly. If you have really high blood pressure, it will bring it down. But if you have really low blood pressure, it will bring it up, which I think is so amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. Now, there is a Chinese hawthorn, Chinese medicine hawthorn, and this is used in China, and it really has a lot to do with the digestion. So it doesn't focus in on the heart, but we know that in terms of digestion and absorption, this is hugely important. Now, there are many ways that you can take hawthorn. You can take it in, you can actually buy it in a solid extract, which is kind of fun. You'll take a little spoon of the solid extract and stir that in. It's kind of like honey, actually. You can stir that into some warm water and drink it down. You can get tea with, the berry, which is basically a rose hip, is basically what the hawthorn berry is. And the flowers and the leaves, you can make a tea out of that. You can take it in tincture. I tend to prefer to take it in capsule form because in the capsules you know that you're getting a certain dosage. And it is just a wonderful, wonderful plant. Now, one of the extra wonderful things about hawthorn is that it is a mild diuretic. And sometimes when people have problems with their hearts or their blood vessels, they tend to maintain water. They get puffy, and the fancy word for that is edema. And you can often see this in the face. The eyes get all puffy, or the ankles. They get those swollen ankles. And neither one of those signs is a good idea. And this is why if you take prescription medication, the doctor will often put you on some form of diuretic. Well, the neat thing about hawthorn is that it does that naturally. But you have to be careful with this, because sometimes if a diuretic is too effective, you'll actually get a little constipated. So, caution, but you will get that double benefit of the fact that hawthorn, because it's making the heart work more efficiently, it'll be pushing fluid through, and your kidneys will thank you and produce lots of urine. So just know that that's part of that. And hawthorn is hugely available. There's all kinds of hawthorn on the market. And if you want to grow a tree, I highly recommend it. They're really beautiful. Any plant in the rose family is gorgeous, mainly because of that flower. And then it produces, when the flower dies away, then it produces what we call a rose hip, or a fruit, actually. And there you have it. So you can collect your own if you like, and dry them either in the sun or in a food dehydrator. Those are the different things that you can do with that. So make sure to check out the links in the program notes if you want to learn everything possible about how to have a healthy heart during the season of the heart. I want to thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. And until our next episode, this is Stephanie Georgia saying, be well.